My name is Luke. Um, I've known Curtis for 27 years.
What do you want them to know about Curtis and your friendship with him?
I've been thinking about how to answer that question for a long time.
He's my mini-me. We have a lot of shared common interests, I think, between motorcycling and engines and automobiles and some programming and stuff like that.
I just very, very vividly remember laying outside of our bedroom doors, like on Christmas Eve, and just like talking about what we thought we would get and like if we snuck into the presents at all, and just kind of like getting into trouble with him.
He's very loving, caring, sincere, a goofball at times.
He definitely puts his mind to something, and once his mind is made up and he wants to do something, he does it. He accomplishes everything that he puts his mind to.
Our parents had set up a play date to have Curtis come over to my house and stay the night. I have this little koala that I called Sweet Bear. My mom pulls me aside and goes, "All right, Luke, just so you know, I know you love Sweet Bear and you don't go to bed without him, but maybe Sweet Bear stays with me tonight." And I go, "Absolutely not, Mom. Sweet Bear stays with me." And my mom left us alone in my room, and then she came upstairs a couple hours later to see me cross-legged on the floor, game controller in hand, Sweet Bear in front of me, and to see Curtis cross-legged on the floor, controller in hand with his bear, Joe Bear, in front of him. God, he would hate me mentioning Joe Bear. I've still got Sweet Bear on my bedstand. I don't know where Joe Bear is. I'm pretty sure it's with his parents, because there's no way they would let anything happen to that bear, not after all it's been through.
I was working in Texas. He was in Phoenix. Vicky was home, and I got a 911 text. So I immediately called, and she was crying and told me that he had been arrested.
For me, it was just a lot of shock and confusion, and I'd never experienced like that level of just helplessness before, and that was very striking and has stuck with me really throughout this whole process, because it's just felt like there's nothing that I can actually do.
Not being able to basically comfort him, to tell him that it's going to be okay, that we're going to get him out of this, that we're going to do everything we can, we're going to fight until the truth comes out so that he's home. That was incredibly difficult.
They stood up, they said guilty, and I went, I actually felt for real like I was being stabbed in the chest. Each juror has to say guilty, and each time it just felt like it further and further into the ground. It was everything I could do to not sob hysterically. As soon as they took him out of the courtroom and into the back, I nearly ran out the doors. I fell on the ground in the courthouse. The bailiff had to help me stand up. I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I was completely devastated.
That was probably the hardest day of my life. Hearing that and seeing him, just sitting there, and that you're helpless. Not hopeless, but helpless. And there's nothing you can do. You want to comfort him, but you can't. They stand him up and they walk him away. And, you're able to say goodbye, but that's it.
He got 70 years in prison. And the way they talked about it was that he has, I think, 40 years with 30 years suspended. I didn't feel anything. I couldn't feel anything. I was dumbstruck with this idea that what people live to be 75, 80, 85, 90 if they're lucky. How many people live to be 91 in prison, right? So I was going through all these really intense emotions and these horrible ideas of what life might be like if I didn't have the man that I think to be my brother with me for the rest of both of our natural lives. It was devastating in a way I didn't know I could be devastated. It's every Saturday, every morning, I leave my house, I go to see my friend first thing. It's how I spend my favorite day of the week. It's not like the movies, right? You walk in, there's an airlock, 2 locked doors, 2 locked gates, they'll run you in. You have this table with a little plexiglass T shape. There's no privacy in any capacity. And you're allowed 1 hug at the end of the hour when somebody comes by and says, time's up. You get up, you hug them, you leave. That part, obviously not enjoyable, but it's become so normal to see him so many times. The rest of the visit just feels like I'm hanging out with a friend. At the beginning, it was difficult, right? But there came a point where I'm just like, all right, this is my best friend. He's basically a brother to me. I can't not go see him. In fact, at this point, it's more for me than it is for him. Anytime you can make something do something under your own skill, I think that's what he loves. These days, it's more intellectual pursuits, right? You don't have the freedom to follow a craft or any kind of other skill-based hobby. Now that he's in the college program, he'll request any number of scholarly journals and just pore over them. We were at a visit on Saturday. He told me and Ryan, he said, all right, quick, what do I read? Do I get another paper on neuroplasticity, or do I get this Foundations of Neurobiological Computer Interfaces textbook? He really wants to figure out how to take the human brain and put it into a computer. Sort of this, I think it's a lot influenced by the media we watched when we were younger, stuff like anime like Ghost in the Shell.
He's taught himself Japanese while he's been in, and I think if that's, any indication of his personality, that's a good example.
We're his lifeline and his sanity from where he's at. And, it's been that way since day one. If they had visits 7 days a week, we would be there 7 days a week.
I don't think he's seen the sun except for through a window for the past couple of months. So I think he's really excited for spring to finally be here. I don't see the differences. Not really. And I think he doesn't let me. There's some part of him that sees the visits as the chance to stay normal. I don't think I'll know how he's really changed until he's home and we get to see each other in what used to be normalcy. There are times where I've felt trapped by this whole situation in ways that I didn't realize for the longest time. When I first had the idea, I said, hey dude, I want to move, I want to leave. I'll take a teaching job in Japan or something and just go see the place. And I wanted to let you know, like, that's my plan. And he said, I will be so mad at you if you didn't go because of me. Don't let me being stuck here keep you stuck. There's a part of me that is locked up with him. It's been 12 years, just about. There's so much of my life that just doesn't work without him. And with him having been put away for so long, I only get that part of my life back for an hour or two every week.
You go in there and you're so excited to see him, and he's so excited. But then at the end, it's a total turnaround of feelings. I mean, because he immediately, like, his head just drops, and he's very sad, and then of course we're very sad.
I don't want to let go. Like, the hug starts and I'm just like, can we just, they don't pull us apart, right? If somebody comes in and they see their husband or something, then they hug and they'll hug forever. And I'm like, just don't, I don't want to sound too mushy, but like, yeah, just don't let me go. Like, if you keep hugging, they won't make me leave, right?
It's definitely hard. I struggle a lot, especially after leaving visits. knowing that he's going to stay there and I can't bring him with me and I can't do anything to take him home with me at that moment.
Once the reality comes that his friends are leaving, the people that he gets to see for an hour every week are now gone. I don't want to say it's devastating for him, but it sure looks like it is.
And then of course we're very sad, but still we're grateful that we do get to see him as much as we do. But yeah, it's definitely hard.
But I just have to remind myself that it will be over one day. He will be home. We will get to enjoy those moments and laugh again as a family, and do all the things that he loves.
It's been a long, hard struggle every day. He's been a real champ, and he's kept his head held high, and we just keep reassuring him, every day, you're coming home. We're not going to stop until that happens.
Curtis looks at hope now as just, you have to have it or you have nothing. It's more of a necessity than it is something that he can aspire to or strive to have. When I heard from Curtis's parents that the Mid-Atlantic Innocence Project had taken on Curtis's case, I had this moment of, oh, they only do that for people that they believe are innocent. It's in the name, right? They walk up and they offer to shake my hand, and I'm like, hi, what? Are you guys his attorneys? And they're like, oh yeah, no, this is Alexandra, this is Jay. I think there's 15 people working on this. I think it was Alexandra who walked up and shook my hand, and she was crying, and she said, thank you to me, which was insane. Because in my mind, like, what are you thanking me for? You're the lawyer. Like, you're the one who's doing the real work. And she's like, but you've been by his side this whole time. And I'm like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? It was really beautiful to see so many people have such like a visceral emotional reaction about this injustice that we've been living with for so long.
I know that he will be back home. And that he will get to see all the birthdays and see his niece and nephew again at home, not just talking to them on the phone on the weekends, and just making sure that we talk in that positive light that when you get home, not if, but when.
Before it was just the idea that eventually he would be home. But now we have people working on this that can help bring him home.